Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another session of the Blending Thoughts. Man, listen, I want to say something, y'all. I am happy to see y'all, man. It's been a while. And we all know whose fault it is, but it's been a while. So just being on air right now and recording and just talking, I feel good, y'all. I feel good. How y'all feeling today, fellas? How y'all feeling?
I mean, excited to be here. You know what I'm saying? People already taking shots, but nobody knows what's about, so it doesn't matter. You know what I'm
Wait,
saying? So good
shots?
to be back. Good to be back. AJ, how you feeling, man?
I'm indifferent about today.
There you go. I love it. I love it. Let's go.
Can you elaborate on that, AJ? Can you elaborate on indifferent?
It's Monday, and I came to the realization that there's only like a month left of summer, maybe like half a month if you really think about it. So,
Yeah.
AJ, can you show everybody what you're wearing?
Rick, I finally just before I do that, I finally like just sat down for the first time in 2 or 3 months to the point where we don't have to go anywhere. So I'm all spaced out.
That's good.
So
Man.
that is good. That is good. Yeah, we want to see what shirt you're wearing, AJ. You know, you always have some interesting shirts going on. Hey, that's dope.
I like the color
That's dope.
scheme.
Yeah,
What is that?
and
It's the brand is called Psycho Bunny,
Bad Bunny. Oh, my bad.
but it's like one of them new, polo joints type of thing coming out. But I always buy my stuff on discount, so every time I see them discounted, I'm like, yeah, I'll pick one up because they look, yeah.
I got a little brand too. You feel me? No. Let me give a little plug. Actually, this is, Ricky, you know who this is. This is Switch. This is Switch shirt. This is one of our boys that we went to school together. He's a true entrepreneur. He's always doing something, whether you
Always.
like it or not, he's always going. He doesn't care what nobody says.
Show it again.
And, he put this out some time ago. Every time he put something out, I cop it, I support people that I know. And this is like a little dog, says story. They have a whole thing behind it that every dog got their own story. So
Yeah, I gotta do this. Shout out to my president. No, Switch. You know what I mean?
Switch,
we miss you,
salute,
bro.
salute. That's
Salute.
right. Actually, he might be a potential later on guest that we could invite. He has a lot to share, depending on the topic. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But
Okay.
besides the point, we can move on.
What's up with you, Rick?
Man, thanks for asking me, AJ. I was just about to complain that nobody asked me how I'm feeling. You know what I mean? I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm blessed, bro. I am no longer a single father. Reinforcement has arrived, and my wife is back home. She's back home. Yeah, she's back home. She was traveling.
You made it seem like there was a separation. Like I didn't.
Yeah, I'm like.
Hey man.
I'm like.
She can't.
I'm like. I didn't get the call. I'm like.
She can't live without me. You know that. Y'all know that.
Fair enough.
That's what I was thinking.
Anywho, guys, we have a not a deep topic, but an interesting one nonetheless. Already know, because we're blending thoughts here, not thoughts, but we blend our mind here. We share what's on our mind, and that's exactly what we're gonna do today. And the topic today is the U.S. education system. Disclaimer, listen, y'all, we're not going to dive deep. We're sharing our opinions and some of our experiences with the education system here in America. All right. So I'm going to start like this. So last year, at some point around, I don't even remember, I think it was around April, my school and we got the chance to meet with.
Hold on, Rick, before you go further. Why don't you say what kind of like got us into the topic? Because you texted us something the other day that we were talking about.
Ooh, can you refresh my
So-
memory?
All right, so we were talking about LeBron James' school. A text up
Ooh.
all those documents, not documents, but all the articles came out saying how none of these kids have passed the test for 3 years, some of them for 3 years or whatever. And
Yes,
why don't you
for the
like,
past 3 years.
yeah, because it's been people don't really understand it's a reform school, but why don't you talk a little more because you gave some interesting points to that, and then you can go into who you met.
Man, thank you for refreshing my memory. Listen, man. So there's an article that came out, and that article was on MSN.com, which actually shocked me because that's a major news source for a lot of people. And the article precisely said what you said, which is none of the students in the I Promise school in Ohio, in the state of Ohio, which is funded by the LeBron James organization, passed their math test. And again, people fail to understand that not only it's a reform school, but they have students from the lower end of the performance spectrum,
Right.
which means, and they clearly say at-risk students. So these are the students that are at risk of graduating, which I look up, the Ohio requirement is 2.0 GPA. So most likely they have students that are 1.0 up to 1.8, 1.9
Sure.
GPA. So they're trying to spruce their education, right? So when you come to a school like that, most likely, and this is not based on the research, most likely they have what we call an accelerated curriculum, where they help students catch up. And by catching up, they don't expect them to pass state testing just yet. I am familiar with the Florida system, so it's very similar to the Ohio. I think Florida has a better system. No offense, Ohio. I just think that it's very misleading, the title of that article. And we already know that in middle school, it's not required. State testings are not required. Now, some students can pass some state testing, but only the math concordant scores are accessible through middle school. But again, it's a clickbait, bro. It's a clickbait. And again, they're trying to throw shade on my brother and what he's doing. And that aspect, I think we need more schools like this who are helping students and giving them something to strive for to reach their horizon.
Okay. So then who did you meet? Now that we're done talking about that part of it, who did you meet that you wanted to talk about?
Yes. And so we know that COVID created a big dent in the education system and forced us to get used to different things. So
kind of reevaluate a lot of stuff too.
Oh yeah. The Biden administration, once they came in power, one of the agenda they had was to make sure that they have a education, not reform, but have a different approach, because obviously the pandemic opened the source to mental issue conversation. So it became prominent, and the Secretary of Education, Dr. Cardona, I believe, right? He traveled through nationwide, and he selected schools to visit and have those conversations with those primary workers, like school counselors, teachers, staff members.
What was the goal of the visits?
The goal was to update the educational approach when it comes to mending mental health and making sure that qualified professionals are hired and trained through professional developments. Okay. So with that being said, the funding increased for education from 200 billion to, from 1.6 trillion. I believe an additional 60 billion was added to educational funding. Okay. But federal funding only accounts for 10% of that, because most of that comes from the state local tax, the state and local taxes. So it's kind of ironic, because we had some opinions that this thing can be scamish. And this is where we see that, the federal government, he's making his tours, but the funding from federal state has not increased in any way. So what they're looking at is reallocating funds from one thing to another, which means it's still gonna be some holes.
Now, being you're in the education system, let me ask this: has any portion of that money ever just gone missing, or is it just they decide to reallocate some of that money somewhere else instead of the education system. I mean, that's a lot of money to not, my opinion, the school systems in the United States are not that good compared to other countries and stuff. But what do you think about that?
All right, my professional opinion, AJ, I'm be honest.
Well, I mean, like the money part, like is the money like just sometimes not accounted for? Because, like I said, that's a lot of money to not really see an improvement.
So I think it's accounted for. I think the money is accounted for. However, I think the agenda behind it at the local level does not reach the population. So you have your school boards where
so your money's not going where it needs to go, basically.
So it may be going where it needs to go, but it's not efficient.
Yeah, I mean, I should say like theoretically, not just the physical money. Like you're not getting your bang for your buck, is what you're saying.
Correct. Yeah. And Bruno can speak to that as well. Just like I know you're in management without revealing the details of it, Bruno. I know you're in management, and I know you see that all the time where some funds are allocated to do this, but there's no realistic interpretation of how the money is spent at the local level. So you can speak to that too. So what do you see in your field?
Yeah, so this is kind of funny to me. I mean, this is little. I've been watching the show Ozark. I don't know if y'all watched the show. And listen, this show, it pretty much gives you a broader idea of what could happen to money when they need to account for the money that, to be spent. All right. So, this show is all about, laundering money, right? So it's same thing could be applied in this, in this field of education, right? Mm-hmm. They could find, multiple reasons to why, there's a high demand and a need for more money to be, funneled through this, department, right? Education. But yet we still see a need, every time that they increase the funds, we still see that the students or the teachers, the whole system, even the buildings, right, are not being top notch or the best quality, or pretty much not meeting the needs, right? So when it comes to management, property, there's always a way for them to explain where the money goes or why they need to keep money, dedicated to this or that, because when it comes to property assets, things happen all the time, right? There's the climate change and all these things are part of a good reason to why you say, hey, a mill went over here. I mean, I what I've experienced is like a smaller margin, but for them it's probably like one bill went missing for this, or whatever the case may be, right? And like, this is not to put my professional thing out there too much, because I don't know who's gonna watch this, but oftentimes we deal with within different departments fighting over how come is this coming from my budget, how come this is. So just imagine in the bigger margin how people are pulling and trying to make sure that they have their pool of money, and let's spend Ricky's amount of money. So it's a
slippery slope.
Yes, it is a slippery slope. So it's really is very unfortunate that this happens. And then on the flip side, where this all started, when you see someone like that the LeBron James Foundation trying to do, instead of applauding and praising what the effort that's being put there, they want to find a flaw, right? Oh, they're not passing tests or whatever the case may be. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? Like, honestly, that level of math, who cares about that? You're going to pick that up anyways later. But, the bigger thing is what the bigger picture that he's putting together for families, taking away the stress, financial stress and all that stuff. But
so
anyways,
what I want to know is what math classes are those kids failing? Because math sucks. As someone that sucks at math, I can tell you I've never used anything beyond basic arithmetic in the workplace.
But didn't this is like, third or fourth, level, grade level that they were failing or whatever? Is that what they said?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking. Like, what does anybody know? Or
No,
I'm
it's
kind of
the
being
middle
funny,
school.
but also serious too. It's just like
It's
Yeah.
you're
middle
talking about
school
kids.
slash junior high requirements. And again,
Oh,
it's
junior high. Okay.
yeah, and you can't even qualify for state passing except the math concordant at that point. But let me throw something else at y'all. The educational system is reactive, y'all. So whatever's
Mm.
happening right now, there won't be a solution until next year or the 2 years from now,
Hmm.
or there won't be a funding, disbursement till 2 years from now. So
What's the chance that
trend's
they're
already done.
teaching the newer ways of arithmetic and all? Like I've seen a million different
Bro,
ways now where teachers teach math, and
listen,
it's
man.
nowhere near like I'm the older statesman in the room, obviously, but like looking at that, it's like hieroglyphics at this point. This is like middle school, high school stuff. Like I just learned a line if you wanted to divide, and they're going through all these like motions here. What
And
Rick?
they're
Tell me
talking
like
about they're
what's going
talking
on with
about.
that shit?
Don't ask me, brother. Listen, I've never felt so dumb walking into a classroom in a kindergarten and tell me, hey, listen, we went to
Listen.
Moses and Abraham,
Yeah,
and they had two grapes. And you just 2 - 1 = 1, right? You have one left.
how much wine did
Just
we
tell me
have when
that.
Jesus made wine
Listen.
out of the
Let me,
grapes?
Bro.
It's just
let me
like
tell you, this
Eh,
is so embarrassing, right? Because I don't know if you guys remember, I used to, oversee a center, right? So this is after school program in the afternoon. And if a staff is out or whatever, I step in to help out. And then they pull out their homework, and I'm like, whoa, like I don't know what to do. Like I have no idea what's going on. And that's when I be trying to play it off like, you know what? Hold up a second. I'll send somebody over. Dude, it's like completely different. I don't know
it's different.
them trying to make things easier, but to me it's not really easy. You know what I'm saying? It's confusing. Oh
Listen,
my
man,
God.
and that's why I always say, just like right now, I'm starting to teach my daughter. At the end of the process, knowing multiple processes helps. It opens your brain, it creates new connections. But at the end of the day,
Oh yeah.
you get to your response. You get to your response. All right.
Yeah.
It's just, and we're not making fun of what's out there right now. I know there are methods that work. Being in the system, I know some methods work, and it opens the mind of others that learn differently, which is important.
why
Diversity,
not update the
inclusion,
system?
and they
Update,
have.
yeah,
They have.
but kids don't know how to figure. Like I've seen this already. Like kids don't know how to think for themselves and figure things out. So why not change the system up and go, okay, if you can come to if the answer is 100 and you can come to it 5 different ways, who cares? You came to 100, right?
Right?
And that's where that's where I say there's a huge discrepancy nationwide on how people interpret those state mandates for education. So it says, okay, compulsory age, which is the age through which, from I think it's 5 to 18 or 16 through 18, right? Whatever it is, 5 to 18, you have to learn at some capacity. But again, the law says you have to learn in addition an educational facility. That's homeschool, that's private school, that's your academies. Academies. Well, I'm saying it in French. And you have your public school. So it's like
La bibliothèque.
So, La bibliothèque, yes. And you go there, and each of these estates or places have their own interpretation of what the mandate says.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. I think that's a problem. And then each of them you're gonna have $30 for public school. You're gonna have $10 for private. Well, private may not get anything, probably for a few cents. And then you're gonna have $1 for mid houses, whatever you call them, reformative schools. But you tell them they have to do the same thing. Makes no sense. And then that one public school will have 10,000 students. The other one will have 7,000 students, but they both get $30.
Public school.
I'm just saying. It's just showing you that the population may be at 3,000, and then you think let's say 10 million is going to serve the same way that 3,000 to 5,000. You see what I mean? There are discrepancies there. So
Yeah.
So a lot of discrepancies, bro.
So I don't know if you. Yeah, I was about to switch it up. How does this translate to the, if you want to call it, scam going into college, right? You know, because
Mercy.
I listen,
We could
when it
talk
comes
about
to
this for 3 straight days if you ask me.
Real talk. Real talk. And
because
Bruno
to
knows I
me,
got fiery argument
I know.
against any colleges, man.
Listen, to me, when it comes to college, you know, because you know, I'm exposed, I try to expose a lot of, you know, these young adults, you know, as, you know, the field that I'm in. So I dedicate some of my time, you know, after hours to work with teens, right? And I talk to them a lot about what college is like. And honestly, the amount of debt, right, that, you know, students
Acquire, right?
have, you know, end up with by the time they're done is ridiculous versus, you know, in comparison to all the classes that you took, right? To me, I mean, this may sound a little messed up, right? If you're not a doctor, you're not a nurse, like anything that has to do, like, you know, some sort of, you know, medical field that
Computer engineer.
lives, like things that you actually need to know what the hell's going on. Listen, why are we taking so many classes?
Dude,
Like, I'm
I
being
was just
serious.
gonna say you could go 2 years of college and get what you need. And
For
I got
real.
examples of this shit too. I mean, it's not just like I'm pulling it out of my ass. Like college is a sham. High school is a bit of a sham if you think about it too, because they don't teach you anything you need to know in the real world to get you interested.
Mm,
Back
mm,
when I was in middle school, which is sixth, seventh, eighth grade, where where I am anyway,
mm.
we had wood shop. We had tin and wood shop together. So you learn how to build stuff. Then we also had to learn to cook and sew and stuff. That's middle school. That's like, wow, okay, like you have an idea of how to bake something now when you get older. Okay, so now you can go to mom, hey, can I cook something? You learn. But I had French, Spanish, and German in middle school too for one a quarter. So that by the
Wow.
time you go to high school, you got to pick one. I mean, the languages I think nowadays are a lot better. I think they're more focused on it, but at least stuff like that gets you interested and gets you into it. So you know what's.
Reactive.
But
Reactive.
but if high school sat down and was like, okay, here's what an APR rate is, here's what entails in a loan, here's how you read a document that you have to sign, then you go to pay for a car or something. Why don't they teach that?
So I'm glad you said that. Let me start by saying, AJ, I'm a believer in the educational system, not the US. I just believe that you have to educate yourself and by any means necessary.
But they don't even
Don't
teach
stay
kids to do that.
stupid. Don't stay stupid. Grow in some ways and in whatever ways you need to do that. Now, to come back to what you're saying, AJ, it's just now, I can't say just now, in the past couple of years, I would say in the past 5 years, that financial literacy has increased in the educational system, where now it's being mandatory to take financial literacy classes to teach these youngins or us youngins how to,
But
why you smiling?
how far is that nationwide though? Is that just in your area, or I mean,
And that's where again, how is the mandate interpreted?
like if I moved to Alabama and my kid started middle school or high school tomorrow, what am I going to
Very
expect?
exactly, and that's why I say Ohio was, you know what? No offense to Ohio, but it's not that competitive up there when you talk about the general
And then,
education
which is
system,
also a sports state too.
Listen, you
right?
know, I have been, you know, putting this out in the universe as of lately, right? I know a lot of, you know, kids are under a lot of pressure from their parents, right? I mean, let's keep it let's keep it 100, right? A lot of us were kind of in this, dilemma. You have to do school because this is the expectation of our parents, right? But is this something that we really wanted to do it? You know, for example, me, I did something in school. I barely used it afterwards. When I was done with my bachelor's, right? I was like, what am I going to do? And that's what, took me to doing my master's afterwards, because I felt like I wasn't ready for the world, because I was just trying to pass the classes, honestly, just so I could, look at my parents and be like, hey, I got the degree, leave me alone now. But what I've been doing now as of lately, I've been exposing these younger, folks. I'm like, listen, you could become an electrician, plumbing, carpenter, all of these things that you could really make a career out of it, like a legitimate amount of money, construction, all of these things, you know what I'm saying? Instead of just wasting your time, money that, if you go to college, you're going to get a job that is not even going to pay you that well for you to pay it back. You know what I'm saying? Instead, take a year to 2 years, get your certificate, and boom, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying don't educate, just like you said, Ricky. Educate yourself. Don't be stupid, don't be dumb, you know, but you don't have to be in school for all these years collecting debt for no reason. But that's just my take.
Dude, college is a sham.
Okay, go ahead. Elaborate on it.
All right.
Elaborate on it.
So I'll give you kind of like a rundown so you understand from my point of view. Yes, I went to college in the like early 2000s, so I know things have changed a little bit, mainly the price. But I technically went 5 years, okay, because I was one of those kids. So number one, of course, they kept me in school when I was doing bad because obviously what's going on? They're still getting a little bit of this, right? And then the loan department's going to get some more of this too. So even if you're doing bad, they don't care to kick you out right away. They want to keep collecting off you. And then the rental, they get something off that if you're in a dorm, obviously. Number two out of my 4 years of my degree, why I don't even know why I had the classes. I had to pick between music, art, theater, and dance as an elective. I'm in college.
Let me take a guess.
What do you think I took?
Dancing class?
Of course. That's why I'm so nimble. So I took music thinking, oh, we're going to learn about a broad range of music. No. I went to class. The guy looked at me immediately. I was with a buddy of mine from my dorm and matter of fact, he lived right across the hall from me. Me and him go. I walk in, I got my hat on like normal. The professor looks at me right away, goes, take that damn hat off. You don't wear hats in here. I was like, well, shit.
That's not for me.
We're getting down to business. Next thing we know, we sit down. Anybody in here a music major? No, he's like, get the hell out of here. You got to go reschedule your class. I was like, all right.
Crazy.
So then come test time, since we're in like a little amphitheater, you have to sit 1 or 2 seats away from everybody. So the music that we studied was all classical, Mozart, Beethoven, John Cage, those kind of things. I don't give two goddamn shits about Mozart or anybody, not being an asshole about it. I just don't listen to it. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I didn't even study for the first test. I'm like, this shit is easy. I go in there, I failed the shit out of the test. It was all detail oriented, exact dates, exact times of music pieces and stuff. I'm like, no. That's how serious that music class. It was harder than my major class. So, but in the meantime, though, why did I have that class? Well, because I have to pay for it. Am I wrong? So then I go there, then I go through my schedule and we talked about the math. I had like trigonometry and statistics, and statistics wasn't even statistics. It was all a bunch of like gibberish on the wall that the guy wrote. And I asked him to help me and he couldn't do it. The type of guy that looks up at the ceiling like that because he doesn't want to stare at you. It's like, dude, I don't even need this class. And there was a bunch more math classes I didn't need. So I come out of school, by the way, I'm a safety major, which means I actually deal with OSHA and things like that. So I worked in construction. So we did a lot of lifts, including tandem lifts, which is 2 cranes lifted at one time. So to figure out a load and all that, we get the formula in safety. I go to statistics and it's like AY plus CB equals Y2X. It's like, what is that for? What do I need that for? I just need to know physics wise that this is going to fall. I had physics 1 and 2, which, like I said, I'm not good with the math stuff. It's all problems. Pass it somehow, but at the same time, I'm looking at all these equations I've been given for physics. All I got to know is something falls, it hits you in the head, you're dead. I don't need to know how fast it's going to fall or whatever, but all those equations, I never used one damn equation for any lift I did, for any type of measurement I did, nothing. 2 years worth of classes I could have cut out and been done in 2 years.
I gotta answer this, AJ. I know one of my passions in education is I love hearing kids saying that they don't use the X and Y's and Z's and okay. So one of the main goals of math, and again, I'm gonna preface this by saying that, listen, I believe in education. I see the purpose behind some of these activities done, but I also know that a lot of it is business. Let me give you a quick background real quick, because in the 19th centuries, Horace Main's main goal, the guy who came up with that school system thing, started in Massachusetts. His main goal was, at the time after the Civil War, starting around 1865, was to pretty much organize groups or establishments to help improve the area. Because he looked out, he was like, okay, there's a lot of people, we have a lot of trades, and we have some knowledge. We need to train up teachers to spread the knowledge that we can self provide for this area. We're not depend on others. So that's how it came about. But of course, I'm with you when you're saying that, yo, nowadays it's become such a political and capitalistic engine,
Right.
that
And it's not worth
it,
the price.
oh no, I don't. Yeah, okay. If we're talking about price, bro, we're talking about listen. It's borderline prostitution, bro.
It is.
So let me throw a little something that I came across. I told you guys a little bit about it right before we start recording. All right. So yes,
I don't
education.
remember.
I'm a for you guys in. Education is important, right? If we could keep one thing from all of this, yes, education is important. I think the highlight here is how people are trying, not people, the system is trying to milk the mess out of all because there's some dollar signs behind it, right? So the video that I came across, my brother actually sent it to me, right? It's like, how come the banks, the lenders, are willing to give a 17-year-old, let them land, let a
18?
17-year-old,
18?
17, 18, right? Doesn't matter, right? Depending on your birthday, right? 18, let's say 18, right?
18.
A young person that's about to go to college, let them
Pause.
borrow.
Public announcement, ladies and gentlemen. We do not speak on behalf of minors here. All right. So he meant 18 and up. Okay. All right. Carry on, Bruno.
A young person is about to go to college, okay? They are willing to let them land, borrow up to $200,000
Yeah,
to go to
because
college.
they have a backing of a guardian signing it, so it's guaranteed money.
But yet that same person, as soon as they're done with college, let's say 21, 22, depending if they did 4 or 5 years, right? Some of us did 5, right? They want to take the same amount as a loan to buy a house. They won't get that because what? They don't have, enough documentation.
Credit history.
Credit history, right? But the whole thing behind it is what, right? The whole, bankruptcy, right? When you do bankruptcy, for a loan for school, that could be forgiven easier than if you do bankruptcy for an asset like a house. They get to lose. They don't want that, right? So this is them again keeping the society, or whoever that is not fortunate enough in the box, right? They rather throw this big old sack pause, of debt of student loan that you can't even gain nothing from it, right? But yeah, they won't give you the good opportunity to start. Listen, I'm being serious here, right? You know what I'm saying? So isn't that straight up a scam?
So
you know what I'm saying?
It's a system.
Listen,
It's a system.
I was 20 or 21, I can't remember. And my roommates and I went to go get an apartment that was kind of quote unquote on campus. If anything, it's like on that border, but the leasing office is on campus. So we go and pick up the paperwork after we go look at the place. And of course, I bring it home to sign. You got to have your parents' signature. So my dad's looking at it. He goes, "What am I going to sign this for?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, I need somewhere to live," thinking he's like trying to, I don't know, get me out of school or something. He's like, no. He's like, no. It's like, if you're 20 years old, you're legal, right? I'm like, obviously. He's like, so what do they need my signature for? I was like, well, what am I supposed to tell them? Keep in mind, like I said, these people are kind of associated with the school and they're not going to take no. So he's like, just go in there. Here's what you got to say. So he tells me, and I go into the office. So I hand the paper over because you need the notary when you sign it and all that stuff too. So I handed the lady a document. I'm like, she's like, where's your parents' signature? I'm like, my parents are dead. She didn't know what to say. I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, what about your guardian? I'm like, ma'am, I'm 20 years old. My parents are dead. Who else is going to be my guardian at this point? You know what I mean? Like she didn't know what to say, but at the same time, like I still ended up giving her the right sheet to prove a point, obviously. But everybody in the room's shocked to hear me say this. They're all looking at me because there's a bunch of parents in there. I'm in there by myself, you know. It's like, how can you sit there and tell somebody that no, at 20 years old, you need a guardian to sign because they want their guaranteed money? That's why they're doing it, obviously. But I'm like, there's got to be something illegal to that. No, it's just
Not knowledge is wealth, right?
Not in the
Knowledge is wealth.
capitalistic system, bro.
because, like Bruno said, if I declare bankruptcy or something like that, nobody's getting nothing. So
Hey, just don't do like Michael. Just don't do like Michael in the office and declare bankruptcy out
yeah,
loud.
like just out loud.
Declare bankruptcy.
Oscar's like, I don't think that's how that works.
Yeah.
Listen, let me tell y'all a piece. Right when the school system was formed, and back in the 19th century, right then and there, one of the main problems started. Right when it was created, they tried to create what they called an Office of Education at the time. And right there, and the articles I found, they all say the same thing. You want my sources? Get at me on the side, you know, like, subscribe, share, and then comment where to find the article. I'll respond, guaranteed. But you gotta like and subscribe. All right, back to the point. It says states like Massachusetts, with long established educational institutions, had well-developed priorities in place by the time the Office of Education was established. In the South, they were still struggling, but they were behind because of the Civil War, and competing interests among state legislators limited the ability of the Office of Education to enact change. And this, my friend, is, I think, one of the epitome of how education is struggling here in the U.S. Because not only education is reactionary, but we have a bunch of people who just are self-consumed, and I mean what I say when I say that, and too worried about the process instead of solving the problem.
Right.
They talk a good talk, bro, but behind it, when we allow state and colleges, and we go away from the original blueprint, which was to make this specific area better, to produce professionals at the time, like, you know, who are electricians, like you said, plumbers, and, you know, you have your oh my gosh, those who are intellectuals. You need those too, you know, those who are computer engineers, you know, you need those too. So producing what you need in that specific area to address those problems. But now it's become just a political battleground, and it's become so privatized and incentivized that people are looking to make money instead of really addressing the needs of specific populations. And that's why one of the laws that got strike down, you know, for Harvard, Stephen A. Smith was talking about that the other day. It makes a difference because now Harvard does not. Harvard does not no longer has to abide by filling in the quota of minorities. Now, people looked at it as a something bad,
I saw that.
Singularizing, like, oh, well, you can no longer accept students based on their race. But now you opening the door for them to, well, you're closing the door to opportunities to minorities. Now, minority students won't have opportunities in prestigious schools or Ivy schools such as Harvard and others. You know, so MIT and others. I'm not saying there won't be any minority, but now they're no longer required to recruit or fill a quota of diversity or inclusion.
AJ, I see the look on your face.
I'm just kind of confused. Like, what was the point?
No, the whole point being, AJ, that political agendas.
What was the point of taking that off for Harvard? I'm not seeing it. Or
I mean, can I say how? Let me just tell you how I took it, right? You know, whether that was intention or not, right? But the way I took it, I think, is the way most people did, and I think that's the way that the media, certain type of media, were pushing, which is they have bluntly said that we were taking these minorities because we had to meet certain quota, right? But now we don't have to. So now we could take only, Asians, just whites, or just blacks. You know what I'm saying? Like now we could be our true selves. We don't want to see no more, Hispanics here. They won't be here. Nobody's gonna hold that against us. That's how I first took it. But for whatever it is, they could hide behind, oh, now we don't have to, see race. We're just gonna take based on your intellect, right? That's what one could say.
Correct.
But they
correct,
spin it
only
as an all.
recruiting. Exactly. Only recruiting in areas that do not have
Yeah, but
these diversities.
couldn't they spin it into a like say by taking this off, which is all inclusion, we're not looking at color.
And that's exactly what they're saying. That's exactly.
Is
Is that what it is saying? Oh,
Yeah,
I must have missed that then.
yeah. Oh man, yeah. It made national news, man. And it's well, I again, you can understand both sides, like Bruno just explained. But
Are there-
again,
Are there issues at Harvard with this stuff?
oh yeah, Harvard.
I mean,
I don't
I
follow.
Ivy League in general.
Yeah.
So if we're being honest, right? Boston, it's like a small version. New England, I want to say mostly Boston. It's a small version of what Cali is, right? Diversity. But the truth is, there's a lot of racism going on here, right? But the big, Ivy schools, right? They had to meet the quota of race, right? And right now, they remove that due to, maybe they just don't want to see diversity anymore. They just want a specific look, but they are, camouflaging it behind, we're only looking at how smart you are. You know what I'm
And you know what that reminds me?
What?
The No Child Left Behind in 2001 by what's his name?
That was
Bush.
the dumbest thing they ever did.
Bro, and that's exactly the same thing. Same.
Why are you going to allow a
MO.
kid to go up if he's not doing good? Like, why reward that? But I mean, we
See,
reward
that's
everybody
one
for
side
everything
of it.
anyway. But
That's one side of it. The other side is
I know it's for like a bullying purpose, and they don't want to seem left out and that kind of. I mean, you can go on about that kind of stuff, but my head doesn't say that's legit. Like it should be that the kid has to stay behind and learn or go to summer school in order to move on. Prove the fact that you can go through this and beat it.
And you see what you just did there? You interpreted. And that's exactly how most states are failing to interpret it like the same way. Instead, in Florida, I'm gonna say, okay, everybody's gonna pass. I don't care who it is, we're gonna pass them until they get to their senior year and they can't graduate. Or get a certification of completion and move on.
So all of a sudden you can't graduate in high school. I mean,
exactly. Whereas,
but you move them up the rest of the time.
Yeah, pretty much. Whereas other states have adopted like credit recovery systems such as Edgenuity. That's a big national program where kids are in class in their current classes, but they're in class for the failed class they had as well, where they're recovering their credits. So I know Florida bought into that as well, but not all school systems have approved. Even if there was one state, one interpretation of the law, but different responses.
Only
It's
college
crazy,
that don't leave anyone behind.
Listen, you know what's funny, y'all? You know what's funny? I'm not trying to be a hypocrite and to each their own, but there are definitely efficient ways that a lot of people don't know to avoid some of these traps out there in the general public.
I would think.
And AJ, you alluded to it. When you're growing up, you don't think about these things. Some of us don't even know the intricacies involved in the college system, period. How to pick your classes. You're just given a schedule and you just go with it. Yet you're taking 2 more years and you don't know why, but 70,000 was added to your bill. So some of us is really lack of knowledge, lack of exposure, you name it, bro.
Bullshit.
So yeah.
Straight up. Listen, man. I remember I used to just take, I used to take the easiest class just to help out with my GPA. You feel me? But listen, this thing is like we could talk about this so many, in so many different angles, and it just crossed my mind, just being younger, different nationalities, different circumstances, just caused and was a result of different, unfortunate situations. I remember there's some friends. I'm not gonna say the name of the school because things may have changed. I had some friends that came from Cape Verde, right? And it happened to be really, I don't know if this happens elsewhere, but were really good at playing soccer. And the school that they went to was known, this is high school, they were known for soccer. And these kids were being kept back on purpose just to keep playing. And the reasoning behind it was, oh, it's the language. We want them to stay back so they can learn English. You really don't need that many years to learn English. You really don't. You know what I'm saying? But this is just we're just gonna dive into so many things that we're not gonna get out of here tonight.
I know. We gotta wrap it up. That's my
Yeah.
wrap up. That's my wrap up story right there. A case. Florida has something called Bright Futures. Actually, it's national, but so it varies from state to state. Bright Futures helps pay for college, and it helps anywhere from 75% to 100%. It's free. However, there are a list of classes you have to take starting at middle school that half, if not most, parents don't know about. But yet, some counselors, and no shades to the counselors, may not be well trained or don't even know about it themselves, and out here scheduling classes. And here you go, your daughter's taking a class that she took 6 years ago, and come senior year, she doesn't qualify for Bright Futures because she didn't take that one class that she needed. Crazy, right? But anyways, all this to say, it's not all negative. It's not all negative, because we do have the system does allow for redemption as well. As I think it does, but it's critical knowledge to avoid a lot of potholes, to avoid a lot of common mistakes, and not fall for the jewels presented in front of you right away, right? 100,000 at a 17-year or 18. Anyways, signed by your co-signer. As a 16, 15-year-old, you have like 30,000 in the bank
with a notary.
So not falling, right?
Yeah.
So it's not falling for these things. So my final take is this, man. And private schools try to do it, but again, they fell for the same agenda of money, and not having qualified professionals within the schools. Some schools have it right. I can name quite a few schools that have it right and that care about their students, their achievement, well-balanced mental health system, self-actualization, and education. However, man, we have to press pause on some of these things done out there and see how it's impossible, because
Listen,
it's a dilemma.
I'm gonna just say something real quick, and Jay, you could give your final thoughts. But Ricky, you said something that really hit me, right? You said, oftentimes these students are missing out on opportunities, right, to all these different other, courses that they need to take it, later on, towards the end of, high school, so it benefits them, to different, funds or whatnot, right? But they don't qualify because they didn't take it previously, right? So, but that just tells me, right, for us young parents, it's important for us to educate ourselves and not rely on, not properly, trained, counselors that may come across, right? So oftentimes us parents, we're just washing our hands and say, the school got it. But not all the time, right? And that's what I got from, your closing statement. And, you did share a bunch of things, but that stuck to me. So for us young parents, it's, it's important for us to stay educated. I know, Ricky, you in the field, but, AJ and I, we have to stay connected so we don't miss on these opportunities, that could,
Yes, sir.
potentially, affect them, our kids later on.
And don't let the BS hit us. That's it. We got each other, man. And I'm in there for a reason. Educate
That's
as
right.
many as possible.
That's right. That's right.
AJ, say something positive, bro.
I think it's like the work of everybody's gonna have to come together. It's gonna have to be the school system, it's gonna have to be the parents and the kids. But there needs to be a better medium as far as what's being taught in school and also how it's being taught. I mean, if anything, education should be changing all the time. They shouldn't be reactive to it. I mean, just every 10 years, there's something different going on. So everyone's got to come together and kind of like fix the problem. And I don't think it's so much of a money issue, but if they really wanted to invest in it, they should, because they just pop money up anywhere they want anyway. So the government can.
That's another subject.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But what I'm saying is like it's an everybody thing. So
pop that money. Sorry.
I kind of wish they let people let the schools get back to being a school and the teachers teaching instead of the problems always the teacher and
the pressures, bro. There's so much pressure added on teachers to meet mandates, bro.
Yeah.
Like relax, let them teach.
Yeah.
And not
pay them.
And not disciplining any, just
don't get me started on that.
Pay them.
Did y'all know?
Pay them.
Did y'all know that the average superintendent makes over $250,000 a year?
For what?
Listen, don't even go there. Listen, this is a whole other topic. Okay, listen, I left the company that I used to work for, not even education wise. I left the company that used to pay, the entry level was $27K. Right? This is what they're paying to a grown person. Entry level, $27K. And I remember when I got there, it was we had a union, right? So it was right around the time that they merged, they bought another company. So a lot of funds were coming in. So you would think in the employees, head or mind is like, oh, we all gonna get paid. You know what they did? They hired the top, I think, she's the 5th or the 10th best lawyer of Boston to go represent them, to make sure that they weren't paying the employees more. But I'm gonna just say this real quick. The union rep person, he said, listen, I've been doing this for 20, 30 years. And the CEO told me this before. He said, it's not whether or not we got the money to give you, is whether or not you could take it from us. Blew my mind. Guess what? 3 months later, I left the company because I'm like, clearly, they're not trying to pay me. You know what I'm saying? And that's just what it is. Just to say a little bit about teachers, that have have a lot of pressure to teach, but yet they're not getting paid. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole other. We just said it. We talked about the numbers. The money is there, yet they don't pay them. They don't give them the condition, but the expectation remains the same.
Oh no, the rising.
I mean, but that's what I'm saying. It's unrealistic expectation. Listen, I'm gonna get upset talking about this because this is reminding me of work. You know what I'm saying?
We gotta wrap it up. Wrap it up.
Hey, listen, and just like that, this is why we do this. You know what I'm saying? This is an outlet for us. This is how we share our thoughts, and just like that, thank you for joining. And we had a dope topic, a dope conversation.
It was a long one today.
Listen,
we'll be back though. We'll be back.
We'll be back. More. We may continue this, but hey, don't forget to check us out, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Until next time. AJ?
Oh, snap.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh boy, let's cut it before AJ does something.
I'm doing the Archer.
Oh my God.